Good morning and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks. I'm your paleontology teacher, Jen, and today is Monday's Musings. And we're going to talk about who was dumb enough to try and eat a sauropod. Okay, maybe not dumb enough. Some of them are probably built to do it. Let's be fair. But when it comes to things as large as sauropods, it's hard to imagine that anything can actually take one down. So let's take a look at maybe who could. Alright, for starters, here we have an Apatosaurus ischium. So this is part of its hip. If you look right here, it's got some funny looking grooves on it. So let's take a closer look at this. So here's a close-up of that distal end. So what we're looking at are Allosaurus, probably, teeth marks in this bone. It's been scraped up pretty good, gnawed on a little bit. So it looks like somebody was definitely eating Apatosaurus. But were they hunting them? Let's take a look. Allosaurus is probably the most well-known of the sauropod predators. It's often found alongside sauropod remains, so it is highly likely that it hunted, at the very least, sick adults or juveniles or smaller individuals in packs. One hypothesis for its hunting strategy is that it would use its head somewhat like an axe. It had a relatively weak bite force. If we look at this diagram here, you can see it really doesn't have very many muscles here compared to other theropods and other predators in general. It's not weak per se, but it's not great. However, it has really, really strong neck muscles. Its skull itself on the tooth row could withstand forces almost 15 times that of its bite force. So you can kind of see where they're getting this idea of the axe bite. They were also probably the fastest of the large theropods in the Morrison ecosystem. So those other large predators being Torvosaurus and Ceratosaurus. Those two just were not built for speed. Allosaurus, though, pretty good sprinter. So he was likely an ambush predator and probably hunted very similarly to some of the felines that we have in our modern day, where they would ambush. He'd use his massive hand claws. Hopefully you can see in this drawing just how big these mantis claws are. Huge recurved claws, very similar to grappling hooks. So it'd be like a grappling hook where they'd hook into the prey, not unlike raptors. And when I say raptors, I mean actual birds of prey, not dromaeosaurs. So things like eagles and hawks. So they would grapple their prey, and then they'd use those jaws to rake flesh off of the body and basically cause the sauropod to bleed out. That meant that once it had done its job, had raked off some of the flesh, it could let go and just follow the sauropod until it bled to death at a safe distance. So it doesn't have to put near as much energy in to killing things. If you have, 2 or 3 of these allosaurs jumping up on this sauropod and biting flesh off, chances are it's going to bleed out. I mean, those are some massive injuries to. And here's just another example from the Natural History Museum of Utah of a group of allosaurs taking down Barosaurus. In this pack mentality, we've got the one that's kind of up here on the body, taking a bite out, got his claws hooked in there. It's a pretty neat display, so if you're ever in Salt Lake, go check this out. It's pretty awesome. It is also highly likely that cousins of Allosaurus, such as Carcharodontosaurus here, taking on a Rabacosaurus, also hunted in packs to take down sauropods. Other cousins like Giganotosaurus here could take on Titanosaurs in much the same way, as could the very similar Mapusaurus, also from the same general area as Giganotosaurus. So all of these carnosaurs lived in sauropod-heavy environments. It would have been their primary food source. They all have similar body plans. Obviously, they're all cousins and carnosaurs, and they're going to be built relatively the same way. So it's likely they hunted in similar fashions to take down large prey and be able to get the food they need. So carnosaurs probably built to take down prey like this. It has also been suggested that certain types of abelisaurs, like Majungasaurus, were specialized for hunting sauropods. With short, broad snouts, they might have hunted like modern felids rather than like our carnosaurs, in which they would bite and hold on for dear life until the animal died. So, kind of like this scenario here, we've got a bunch of cheetahs. They've all got a bite, except for that one on the back end. But basically, they've got claws in, they're biting, they're holding on, and they will do that until that wildebeest collapses. So maybe certain abelisaurs would do the exact same thing. Anyway, super neat, right? So we got several carnivores that probably did actively hunt smaller sauropods in packs and would, a sauropod could feed these guys for a while if they manage it. So, dangerous? Yes. Worthwhile endeavor? Yes. Hope you learned tons about sauropod hunting theropods today, and I will fossilize you later.